So, where are we at? Well, we're in New York. I thought I'd go ahead and get this one over with as far as where we're at right now. So, Governor Kathy Hochul has decided she's going to use, I think it's called the Taylor Law, to step the corrections officers in the line she thinks they should be in. So, here's where we're at. We'll break down the Taylor Law and then we'll go to where we're at. How the Taylor Law bans correction officers from striking. Albany, New York. Governor Kathy Hochul announced that she's ready to send the National Guard to state-run prisons where staff started an unauthorized strike. I don't know why that was so difficult. She directed her legal team to work with Attorney General Letitia James, another complete shit show, on the next steps from a legal perspective under the Taylor Law. The Taylor Law prohibits public employees from striking, so workers can't leave their post or encourage their colleagues to do so without formal permission from the union. Correction officers fall under the law, which deducts up to twice a worker's daily pay rate for every day that they're on strike. Now, I'm not sure, follow me on this, like the Constitution grants you the right to redress your grievance with government. And every time you turn around, government wants to put like a little obstacle in the way. I'm just saying, seems to me like they have a little bit of leverage. Hochul says the law could force the corrections officers back to work. As a spokesperson for Alphabet, the union that represents corrections officers explained they do not back the current strike action. Of course not, because they're a union. Because if they all quit, then the union's like, shit, how are we going to get more money? We got to get more people in more uniforms. The illegal and unlawful actions being taken by a number of corrections officers must end immediately, Hochul said. We will not allow these individuals to jeopardize the safety of their colleagues, incarcerated people, and the residents of communities surrounding our correctional facilities. Now let's remember, these people are striking. Remember Robert Brooks? We did Robert Brooks, and I said that is not a one of. The only reason we heard anything from that is because he died. Yeah, the only reason we heard anything about that is because he died. They're over it. They're done with it. It has been going on. It's been going on for like a minute and a half. I'm just saying. And they're over it. And you would think, I don't know, their government might be behind. That was a joke. I couldn't even say that with a straight face. Government's never behind, the people that pay them. To that end, she said she also ordered DOCCS Commissioner Daniel, another alphabet, and order other top officials to meet with union leaders to end the strike. The governor threatened tough discipline, warning corrections officers to return to work, lest they be fired or fined. Betting she'd rather fine them, that way they can get money. According to DOCCS, the strikes led them to cancel visitation at 25 prisons so far, including Attica, Auburn, Clinton, Collins, Eastern New York, Elmira, 5 Points, Upstate, and Wind correctional facilities. Among the changes they've demanded of DOCCS, striking officers want better pay, a ban on third-party vendors in security work, a reversal of the HALT Act, and a return to previous staffing levels. I think this HALT Act has something to do with segregation, like how long people can be in segregation, because I think the doctors and stuff have said like more than 15 days, the wear and tear on the body and the mental, and government don't care. DOCCS said these demands would likely require new legislation because we all know how fast legislation works. Not fast at all. On both sides of the aisle, leaders want more staff and new laws to secure the state's correctional facility. Well, they want more staff so they can get rid of the staff they have now to have the new staff to do what they tell them to do. And there'll probably be tougher laws and bylaws for the new ones. State Republican leader Rob Ort decried Hochul's idea of deploying the National Guard, calling it a waste of resources. Deploying our National Guard makes the situation even more dangerous. As a former member of the New York National Guard, I have the highest regard for these soldiers. He said this is not what they're trained for. Well, they're trained for kind of like wherever they're put, aren't they? Meanwhile, the Democratic State Senator Julia Salazar, who chairs the Committee on crime victims, crime and correction, stress the connection between prison safety and public safety. We are closely monitoring the work stoppages and related actions by DOCCS staff at correctional facilities around the state, as well as the harmful impact such actions are having on people who are incarcerated and their loved ones, said a spokesperson from Salazar's office. Yes, because now they've got to get up off their ass and do something. As of December 1st, 2024, DOCCS reported 13,998 members of correctional facility security personnel. As of February 1, 2025, DOCCS reported 33,578 individuals incarcerated in state prisons, with over 24,000 of those considered violent offenders. In terms of raw numbers, the current total is less than half of 1999's peak of 72,649 incarcerated individuals. And that's where we're at with the teller law. So let's see what's up. New York governor, also, this was from, February 19th. New York governor deploys National Guard amid illegal corrections officer strike at state prisons. 19th. What did I say that one was? Oh, no, I'm sorry. 19th. Oh, same day. So let's see what she had to say. Surely she's gotten with it, right? Probably not. Also, I would like to note, while I'm thinking about it, 90% of people that watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. What are you waiting on? You're sitting at your computer, you got your phone in your hand, just click the button. Anyway, New York Governor Kathy Hochul has deployed National Guard troops to secure state-run prisons amid a wildcat strike by corrections workers. Picketing and striking by corrections officers took place at around 30 state prisons as of Wednesday morning, union officials said. Hochul says National Guard troops are being deployed Wednesday, but she did not immediately specify where. Well, I'm guessing probably pretty close to the places she mentioned. They've already been deployed and are ready to stabilize the situation, Hochul said of the National Guard soldiers in a video address released Wednesday. I'm directing everyone involved in these unlawful strikes to stop these actions immediately. That will teach you. Legal action has already commenced to ensure compliance because we've told you, we've asked you nicely, and now we're going to show you we mean business. National Guard soldiers in Humvees entered the grounds of Attica Correctional Facility. They're trying to show force. I'm just saying, National Guard lately is a joke. Anyway, don't tell the prisoners, though. They don't need to know that. Later in the day, Hochul's office said in a statement that 3,500 members of New York National Guard started reporting for duty and will support corrections workers at prisons, with tasks including distributing meals and medication to incarcerated individuals and help maintain general order and wellness in the facilities. Well, we've seen how well the COs do that, and they fucking suck at it. The strikes have upended the lives of prison inmates and their families who have been denied access to everything from lawyer to family visits, said Sophia Elijah. Can we ebonic some shit up? I don't even know if I said it right, but that's what it looks like. That's what I'm saying. Executive Director of Alliance of Families for Justice, which advocates for families of incarcerated people. The lockdowns also restricted access to religious services, parole hearings, and medical treatment, she said. Our family members and their incarcerated loved ones are gripped by fear of what may happen when the governor is calling in the National Guard, Elijah said, citing the massacre of people inside Attica by National Guard soldiers in 1971. Well, that was quite a different story. Feel free to go look that up. That is, they're trying to say, look, we're in desperate time. Well, guess what? They should have fucking thought about that when they didn't want to listen to anybody. And now the anybody's they didn't want to listen to have said enough is enough. This is the way it's going to go. Or kiss my ass, and this is where we're at right this minute. She said that families are reporting lockdowns and other restrictions at Bear Hill, Franklin, Upstate Collins, Elmira, 5 Points, Otisville, Clinton, Greenhaven, Woodburn, Eastern, Attica, Auburn, Clinton, and Windy prison facilities. A spokesperson for Hochul did respond to questions about the extent of the strikes. Earlier today, New York State filed an injunction under the Taylor Law, and a judge granted a temporary restraining order mandating striking corrections officers to cease illegal activity, the governor's statement said. Also, I'm just saying, redress your grievances. We have a whole constitution about that, so I'm saying we're about to see a bunch of way back in the day play out. Striking guards could be fined or face other sanctions under the law. State prison guard union leaders have previously conceded that the strike is illegal and say they did not authorize it, which is what Kathy Hochul's whole argument is. You are not authorized to be out here. You are not authorized to strike. You are not authorized to be mad at us right now. We will tell you when you have that authorization. Well, guess what, Kathy Hochul and all your little underlings, they're saying, fuck you. Union representatives met with the governor's team for the second straight day. Negotiations with the state have continued throughout today between New York State something and the governor's office towards a resolution. New York State Corrections Officers and Police Benevolent Association spoke. New York State Corrections Officers and Police. I thought that was Police Benevolent Association at then. Spokesperson James Miller said Wednesday in a statement, union officials have said that corrections officers are protesting for better pay, heightened searches of prison visitors, and a reversal of the recent prison reform that limits solitary confinement. The strike also follows the killing of inmate David Brooks. Video shows him being beaten by corrections officers while he was handcuffed at a Marcy Correctional Facility. The governor eventually ordered the firing of prison staffers involved in the death, which was ruled a homicide in early February. And I have a couple videos coming up on that. But look, I hear you. You got to give me a minute. I'm working on it. A special prosecutor is expected to announce an update in the criminal case in Brooks' death Thursday. Is she? Well, okay. So it looks to me like Kathy Hochul has said, I don't know who these people are, I'm putting the hammer down. Please, she needs some help. And this, corrections officers stage unlawful walkouts at prisons across New York, including Elmira. Now, let's go back. A little history lesson. The first one was February 19th. The second one was February 19th. And this one is February 20th. So they said, we hear you, Governor. Now, hear this. This week, hundreds of New York State corrections officers walked out of work at 30 state prisons, including the Elmira Correctional Facility in Chemung County. Governor Kathy Hochul called for an end to the illegal strike. I'm not clicking on that because it's bullshit. Hochul signed an executive order Wednesday activating 3,500 New York National Guard troops to state prisons across. According to a press release, the troops will support and supplement current correctional staff, distributing meals and medication to inmates. She did not specify when they were deployed. However, she said additional troops will also be deployed. The Department of Corrections and Community Supervision has canceled visitation to all 42 state prisons indefinitely. Wednesday afternoon, a judge in Erie County issued a restraining order against the corrections officers and its union because such actions are considered unlawful, according to New York civil service law known as Taylor Law, I was telling you about, which prevents public employees from striking. Again, redress your grievance. I'm just throwing that out there. On Tuesday, a crowd of approximately 100 corrections officers were gathered across the street from the Elmira prison just outside the residence. There were outdoor heaters and barrels used as fire pits scattered about the property to keep them warm in the below freezing temperatures. Elmira Mayor Daniel Mandel said he was at the walkout on Tuesday and said there had not been any issues with a large gathering and open fires. Yes, because they know what they're doing. They're adults. Leave them the fuck alone. They're just trying to stay warm. They want some better working conditions. They want some better pay. And they're tired of the bullshit. They're tired of every time you turn around, you got some medics standing back laughing when guards are beating a handcuffed prisoner to death because they've seen it so often. Now it's just funny to them. They should all be under the fucking prison. If there was an issue, we would respond and handle it accordingly, said Mandel. I'll be honest, too. When I was there, it was a peaceful demonstration. They're not trying to... It's not like the Black Lives Matter movement where they were tearing shit down and burning shit down. And these people are serious, and they're going about it exactly how they're supposed to. And the problem is, government really wants them out there tearing some shit up so they can lock them up. That's what they want. Anyway... The walkout is unsanctioned according to the union that represents the officers, the New York State Correctional Officers and Police Benevolent Association. Can we get some fucking longer names? It is not clear if this exacerbates the staffing issues that corrections officers say is plaguing state prisons or whether DOCCS will reprimand those who do not show up for work this week, according to an independent state Prison watchdog, the Correctional Association of New York, as of 2024, which is the latest data reported, Elmira's maximum security facility has 62 vacancies out of 785. The Corrections Officers Union said that negotiations toward a resolution with the state began Tuesday and continued Wednesday. Mandel, who spent 30 years working for the Chemung County Sheriff's Office, said some state corrections officers are concerned about safe working conditions at the state's recently implemented HALT Act and the state has basically taken the disciplinary tool away from the correctional staff, said Mandel. The HALT Act, or Humane Alternatives to Long-Term Solitary Confinement Act, was signed into law in 2021 by the governor. It is meant to limit extended solitary confinement to inmates, allowing for some hours outside of the cell while in solitary holding. Its use is prohibited to those 21 years or younger or 55 years or older, and those who are disabled or pregnant. Solitary confinement is also limited to 15 consecutive days. Solitary confinement, I get it, it's a punishment, but people don't understand. Prison, the thought of it was, we'll take you in there, we'll reform you, we'll turn you out, and you'll be better than when you went in there. And that's not what, when you're in a solitary confinement, when you're in a, you know how you go to the zoo and you see the lions and tigers and bears all mine, and they're pacing the cages, your mind and your body is not built for that. And it has such wear and tear on your body that your mental faculties deteriorate so rapidly that once you get out, you can't be reintegrated because you don't know what you're reintegrating into because you're used to being in that cage 24 hours a day. You get me now? It's getting officers assaulted. It's getting other inmates assaulted. And quite frankly, it's hurting the recruitment. He said they cannot find people that want to take the job, and I can't say I blame them in this day and age. He said this day and age. Oops, stop. On Thursday, 6 corrections officers were indicted for second-degree murder. Well, my video might be playing out right now. On Thursday, 6 corrections officers were indicted for second-degree murder and the beating death of inmate Robert Brooks at Marcy Correctional Facility last year. 4 others were charged with lesser crimes. It is unclear if the indictment announcements and the strike are related. WSKG reached out to the governor's office, DOCCS, but didn't hear back in time for this report because the comment to the comment is no comment. Also, the indictment, no. The whole issue, they're not getting it. Government is not getting it, and they won't get it because they don't care. They don't care. So, did Kathy Hochul give in, or deal reached to end illegal strike by New York prison workers? Governor says New York Correctional Facility strike ends. Changes to the HALT Act, staffing changes, swapping shifts, overtime and pay leave, strict mail surveillance. February 28, 2025. Maybe we're getting somewhere. New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced an agreement late Thursday to end a wildcat strike that has roiled the state's prison system for more than a week. Hochul said the state and the union for striking correction workers agreed to binding terms after 4 days of mediation talks. The workers must return to work by Saturday to avoid being disciplined for striking. Mediator Martin Scheinman, in a 7-page memo detailing the agreement known as a binding consent award. The deal includes changes to address staffing shortages and provisions to minimize mandatory 24-hour overtime shifts. Hochul said the mediation settlement addresses many of the workers' concerns, plus the state prison system puts the state prison system on the path to safe operations and prevents future unsanctioned work stoppages. I'm pretty sure they have said from now on, if you do that shit, you go immediately. You ain't got to worry about striking because we're going to put you in here. My top priority is the safety of all New Yorkers, and for the past 11 days I have deployed every possible state resource to protect the well-being of corrections officers, the incarcerated population, and local communities across New York. Hochul said a statement. We know that's a lie because they're a sanctuary city. They're letting illegal, undocumented gangbangers from Venezuela and China and Honduras and every fucking where else sleep in hotels that are $3,000 a fucking night. So don't even tell me that they give a shit about keeping anybody in New York safe. They give a shit about keeping money in their fucking pocket, and that's all they give a shit about. And when these workers strike, it costs them money, and they can't have that. The union, the New York State Corrections Officers and Police Benevolent Association, Incorporated, did not immediately respond to a message seeking comment. They don't, because you know what it is, right? The comment to the comment is no comment. Strikers won several key concessions, including a temporary bump in overtime pay, a potential change in pay scale, and the suspension of a prison reform law they blame for making prisons less safe. For the next month, under a new agreement, overtime will be paid at a rate of 2.5 times instead of the usual 1.5 times regular pay. The state also agreed that within the next 4 months, it will finish its analysis of a union request to bump the salary grade for officers and sergeants. Of course, because, you know, the higher-ups always, we got to have more money because, you know, I got some fucking stripes, so I need, right here, stripes some more, I need more money. Should know it was coming to that. They threw that in there because they're like, well, we're giving them more pay. We'll give everybody more pay. The reform law, which limits the use of solitary confinement, will remain suspended for 90 days while the state evaluates if reinstating it will create an unreasonable risk to staff and inmate safety. The state and union also agree to form a committee to study staffing and operational inefficiencies at each facility in an effort to relieve strain on existing staff. They will not. That once they get them back to work, they're not. This will be it. What we're in February, summertime, they'll be doing it again. Corrections officers began walking out February 17th to protest working conditions. Hochul deployed the National Guard to some prisons to take the place of striking workers. The job action violated a state law barring strikes by most public employees. Several inmates have died during the strike. And of course they're going to blame that on a strike because if they had been in there, you know, Billy Bob wouldn't have hung himself. Please fucking stop. Please stop. Scheinman, a seasoned mediator who serves as the permanent arbitrator for Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, and their unions, said the sides demonstrated good faith and enormous commitment to finding workable solutions for the workforce, did they? What has become clear during the mediation is the relationship between the parties and the workforce is strained. Scheinman wrote in a memo explaining the agreement, not a single issue, law, or policy entirely explains the current situation. It is obvious this erosion did not happen all at once. No, and I'm sure I'm sure a single issue, law, and policy will be rewrote so this shit don't happen again. The National Guard will draw down from state prisons as correctional officers return to work. In the agreement, the National Guard members who remain in place will be used to prevent prison workers from being mandated to work a 24-hour overtime shift, which is total bullshit. I'm just saying, where's all the paperwork and the laws and the bylaws on all that shit? Don't want to talk about that. Shh, you're not supposed to know. So, is that where we are at? Nope. New York corrections officers want dim prison reform repeal, say deal ending strike as a slap in the face. So they said, Kathy, you got out over your skis again, cause not what we, anyway. A mother of one of the corrections workers says Governor Kathy Hochul's deal is a slap in the face of officers, and this is February 28th. February 28th at 4:58 a.m. Please, they had been dead before. 1:05 p.m. because they caught wind of that and they're like, "Look, we're not playing this shit. Let's. Here's what it is." New York officials have reached an agreement to end a 2-week unsanctioned strike by correctional officers over Democrat-backed prison reforms that they say have made conditions unsafe, but a GOP lawmaker argued that the deal fails to address the basics of what the people are angry about. Exactly. Because government don't give a shit. Government's trying to figure out a way to write more legal bullshit to back you into a wall so you can't do anything. I'm just saying, you have a constitutional right to redress your grievance with your fucking government, and people are doing it, and fucking government don't like it. The things that they're most upset about are the things that are the subject of legislation. Republican State Senator Daniel Steck told Fox News Digital in an interview Friday. The mediated deal was reached late Thursday between the New York State Corrections Officers, the government-affiliated Corrections Officers Union, Police Benevolent Association, and the state's Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. Holy shit. People probably don't know. Anyway. However, since some 15,000 corrections workers have been on a wildcat strike, they were not present during negotiations, and a spokesperson for the striking workers told CBS the deal does not go far enough. It never does. Oh, can you hear us now, Governor? Hochul, why don't you want my husband to be safe? The issues have always been there, Steck said. Officer safety, mandated overtime. Some of these guys are working so much overtime that they're never home, and it's thrust upon them. On top of that, during the nature of their job, they're working. Sometimes they're forced to work 24 or more hours consecutively. At issue is a piece of prison reform legislation, the Humane Alternatives to Long-Term Solitary Confinement Act, HALT, that strikers want repealed. The law restricts solitary confinement and instead focuses on other rehabilitation methods, but since it went into effect in 2022, GOP lawmakers citing department stats say it has led to a 169% increase in inmate assaults and 76% increase in inmate on staff assaults and a 32% jump in contraband cases. Yes, because you can't keep human beings, you shouldn't keep anything locked up in a cage like that for extended periods of time. Used to be solitary confinement, you were locked up 20, I think in Pender County back then it was 21 hours a day, and you go out 3 hours, you go outside. 3 hours a day, you go outside. Maybe it was 2. Maybe it was 22 and 2. Something like that. Anyway, and they went outside and played basketball and frisbee and all kinds of shit. But anyway, she doesn't care. She cares about the inmates and their rights. The deal is a slap in every officer's face. Steck said it's not safe for the officers. It's not safe inside for anybody, and said this has been pointed out to the administration time and time again since before they put the HALT Act into effect. I'm sure it has. One mom of a corrections officer told Fox News Digital on Friday, these are things that the governor doesn't care about. She doesn't care. She cares about the inmates and their rights. She said the deal is a slap in every officer's face. Now, they do have rights. Yes, they're incarcerated, but they have rights. Like it or not, they are human beings. And if we have corrections officers that want them locked up in a cage 24 hours a day, then I think we need those correctional officers to have some mental health reevaluation. Upon the released agreement, Governor Kathy Hochul said in part, my top priority is the safety of all New Yorkers, and for the last 11 days I have deployed every possible state resource to protect the well-being of correctional officers, the incarcerated population, and local communities across New York. Seems like we heard this. Working with a mediator, we have reached a consent award to address many of the concerns raised by corrections officers, put DOCCS back on the path to safe operations, respect the rights of incarcerated individuals, and protect future unsanctioned work stoppages, she said. In a letter alongside the agreement, mediator Martin F. Scheinman proposed a binding consent award that would formalize agreements reached in mediation and be enforceable by court order. He noted the enforcement of such an agreement is complicated by a temporary restraining order, which renders judicial enforcement difficult while the strike continues. He said the consent award will only be signed once the court order is in compliance. And I told you, they'd give a little, and then they're going to put the hammer down. And now government's putting the hammer down because they've even put roadblocks in their own way to try to not do what they said they would do. I will not issue a consent award. I will not issue a consent award. I believe will be enforceable judicially, Scheinman said. The mediation agreement temporarily suspends key provisions of the HALT Act for 90 days, with a review by the DOCCS commissioner after 30 days to determine if the suspension should continue. Following the suspension, a circuit breaker staffing metric will be implemented to prevent mandatory 24-hour overtime shifts, requiring facility adjustments if staffing falls below 70%. The agreement also says protesting officers will be shielded from disciplinary action if they return to work by March 1st. Notice how it keeps pushing out. But those involved in illegal activities will face penalties. What illegal activities are they? You have a right to redress your grievances. So what illegal activities is it? They're burning some crap in a barrel to stay warm. Yeah, well, guess what? You let all the illegals and all the homeless people that roam the streets do it all the time. Other provisions include pay increases, referral bonuses, mental health support, and security screening to curtail drugs in the prison mail system. Additionally, the National Guard, which Hochul requested after thousands of officers do not show up for work, will remain on site. Steck said corrections officers see the deal as something the state is seeking to shovel money at. Of course they are, because if they can shovel money around, they can put a little bit of it in their own pocket. In reading the agreement, there's a lot of discussion in there about overtime and money, and people are always going to talk about money, but the impetus to this has always been about their safety, he said. In a statement to Fox News Digital, a NYSCO PBA, Benevolent Association, State, New York, whatever, spokesperson said the consent agreement provides what concessions DOCCS has made in relation to members' demands. HALT, unfortunately, cannot be repealed without legislation from the Senate and Assembly. NYSCO PBA has encouraged all members to return to work and will continue to work towards addressing all of the concerns, the spokesperson said. Beginning on February 17th, 2 officers from the New York Department of Corrections began striking over unsafe conditions in their facilities, and support quickly cascaded across 38 of the state's 42 prisons, leading to thousands of workers participating in the strike without union approval, which is prohibited under New York law. New York law says you cannot redress your grievances, so there you are. Just saying. Constitution. Day before strike, officials at Collins Correctional Facility in Erie County implemented a lockdown following an inmate uprising. Hochul threatened legal action early in the week against striking correctional officers, announcing during a press conference that proceedings had commenced against nearly 400 officers with New York State Police serving restraining orders to 380 individuals. Hochul said officers remaining on strike are considered absent without leave. AWOL. They want to be some military too. Anyway, resulting in the loss of states' health benefits and legal representation previously provided by the union. They know they're in violation of New York State Taylor law, Hochul said during the press conference. They are also in violation of a temporary restraining order to return to work. We offered an amnesty period where they could go back to work, no questions asked. Fox News Digital reach out to Hochul's office for comment, and what do we say? Comment to the comment is no comment. Anyway, it's getting late here. That's where we're at on this. What the hell's today? Friday night at, I don't know, almost 10:30. But yeah, so they said, no deal. We don't like your deal. Kiss my ass. So that's where we're at with New York. And we're going to, in the next couple of days, I'm going to have up a video or two about the Marcy Corrections officers and their bullshit and what they're looking at. I was thinking about waiting until the hammer actually came down, but we'll probably go ahead and do that now. Anyway, again, 90% of people that watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. Feel free to click the button and let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'm out.